All right, today we're diving into a really unique and, well, atmospheric astrological event, Mercury retrograde in Pisces. And if you're thinking about crashing computers and tech glitches, let's put that aside for a moment. This is about something way more subtle. It's a shift that feels like a change in the air itself. Our source material kicks off with this line, and it's just perfect. The fog arrived on a Tuesday and stayed. It completely sets the stage, right? This isn't some destructive storm. It's a fog. It just obscures things, softens the edges, and totally changes how we see everything around us. And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? This whole period is a deep dive into that exact question. It's that feeling when you're sure you said one thing, but someone heard something completely different, and you're both left wondering where the signal got lost. So let's get specific. What exactly are we talking about here? It's a 3-week window where Mercury, the planet of communication, seems to be moving backward through the dreamy, intuitive sign of Pisces. And what's the result? Well, clarity kind of slips through your fingers, timelines can feel all jumbled up, and what you feel in your gut starts to shout way louder than what you think. Okay, so how does this actually feel in day-to-day life? What are the rules for navigating this haze? Let's get into why things just feel so different right now. What's so fascinating is this fundamental shift that happens inside us. Our logical, rational brain kind of takes a back seat. Facts and figures might seem unconvincing or like they're not telling the whole story. And in its place, intuition, gut feelings, symbolism, old memories, they all come rushing to the surface. The thing is that intuition can be incredibly reliable, but only if we actually slow down enough to listen to it. And yeah, this brings on a pretty unique set of challenges. Misunderstandings are almost a given. Not because anyone's being careless, but because, as our source says, everyone is hearing through their own weather. You'll notice old memories, maybe even some old karmic patterns bubbling up and asking for your attention. Conversations can feel like they have all this subtext running underneath. And if we try to just power through and ignore our need to rest and reflect, it can get really emotionally draining fast. Okay, so that's the challenge. But how do we actually navigate these currents instead of just getting swept away by them? Let's talk about some practical advice. The antidote to all this confusion is pretty simple. Be deliberate. This guide is super straightforward, but so powerful. First, just pause. Slow down your response time. Don't let that initial emotional reaction run the show. Second, double check things. Your intuition is sharp, for sure, but the details still matter. Third, clarify. If something feels off, ask questions instead of just filling in the blanks with assumptions. And finally, revisit. This is actually a fantastic time to go back to old projects or reconnect with people from your past. This quote right here really nails the mindset we need. When those old memories or feelings pop up, our first instinct might be to just shove them back down. But the advice here is to listen. Seriously, they're surfacing for a reason. There's information there for you, maybe a pattern to release, or a lesson you're finally ready to learn. Now, to see how all this actually comes together, our source gives us this beautiful little story. I mean, it's one thing to talk about these ideas, but it's another thing entirely to see them play out. So we meet Mara, and she's doing exactly what the guide suggests. She's revisiting the past. She's rereading an old note from a man named Elias. For years, she saw a certain phrase as abrupt, maybe even a little careless. But now, in this reflective energy, she sees it completely differently. It wasn't carelessness, it was hesitation. And get this, at the very same time, Elias is doing the same thing, just with a project instead of a person. He goes back to an old boat he abandoned. He realizes his urge to just scrap it and start over was wrong. The old boat didn't need to be replaced, it just needed more time and patience. So when they finally talk, Mara voices that assumption she's been carrying around for years, the story she built around that one little note. It's a belief that has literally shaped their entire history together. And there it is, Elias's response. It is the perfect example of two people hearing through their own weather. Neither of them was wrong, exactly, but they were both operating on a complete assumption about what the other person needed. The fog between them was built on things left unsaid. This slide maps out their journey perfectly. It all starts with a misunderstanding. Then, they both independently revisit the past. That gives them the space to finally ask for clarification, which allows their two separate stories to converge into a new, shared reality. And this becomes the tool that starts to clear the fog, not just for them, but for their whole community. They start asking this one simple, transformative question. Is that what you meant? It sounds so easy, but it cuts through every assumption and opens the door to real communication. As they start to find their way back to working on the boat together, Elias has this really profound realization. The journey wasn't about deciding if his path was right or her path was right or what they should have done differently years ago. And Mara just brings it all home. This is the core lesson of the whole retrograde. The point isn't to pick a new future or erase the past. It's about looking back with fresh eyes to truly understand the path that brought you here. That's where the real healing is. So, after the fog begins to lift, what does it actually leave behind? What's the real purpose of all this confusion? Let's get to the final takeaway. Look, this period isn't just chaos for the sake of chaos. The confusion actually serves a purpose. It forces us to slow down so that deeper, hidden truths can finally surface. Your awareness is meant to grow, but the trick is to stay grounded and not get totally swept away by the emotional currents. And remember, this period has an end date. By March 20th, we're told the air begins to feel clear again. The fog lifts, not because every single problem is solved, but because we've learned how to listen in a whole new way. So what do we carry with us moving forward? First, composure. That ability to just pause. Second, discernment. The wisdom to trust your intuition but still check the facts. Third, accepting that our story of the past isn't set in stone. It can change as we grow. And finally, learning to listen not just to what's being said, but to what's trembling right beneath the surface. And that really leaves us with one last question to sit with. During a time when logic takes a step back and memory moves forward, it's the perfect moment to ask yourself, in the quiet moments, in those confusing conversations, in the echoes from your past, what deeper truth is just waiting for you to finally hear it?